The film begins with a young and attractive Julia meeting a man in a cafe. She does not have time to look for relationships on the street, so the girl is forced to get acquainted on social networks. The man on the phone seemed interesting enough to her, so Julia decided to arrange a date to talk closer and get to know each other. At some point, she interrupts a sweet conversation to go to the toilet. The man goes after her and seduces the beauty, trying to grab her by the waist. At first, the girl repels him, as they are little known, but succumbing to desires, she allows him to do whatever he wants. As it turned out, all this is a wild fantasy of Julia, who planned the course of further events. She is not ready for such a step and hastily ends the date, saying goodbye to the mysterious man. After leaving the cafe, Julia calls her sister and says that she will return home very soon. As soon as the girl gets into the car, she is attacked by a man she met in a cafe. At this moment, it becomes clear that he is a criminal operating in the city for several months. Using dating sites, a man invites girls on a date, after which he kidnaps and takes them to his place. Sometime later, the police find the branded bodies left by the criminal and use all resources to find him. The man who captured Julia throws a noose around her neck and orders her to obey him in everything. Not daring to argue with a strong criminal, the girl agrees to take a ride to one hot place, where, according to the man, she will definitely like it. Once in the lair, the stranger ties Julia's hands and hangs her on a hook, like prey that needs to wait for its inevitable fate. The man leaves the girl alone to shave and clean himself up. He watches Julia through security cameras, after which he turns on his favorite music in his headphones to relax a bit. While the man is distracted by his own affairs, the girl manages to get off the hook and find a mobile phone in a raincoat lying on the hood. A couple of minutes later, man notices that the girl has disappeared and goes in search of her. Julia hides in the garage and tries to call the police, but man quickly finds her among the old cars. Capturing the victim again, he decides that she deserves punishment for trying to escape. He chains the girl to the trunk of a pickup truck, after which he uses a burner and heats the branded rod. Wishing to leave his signature mark on the body of the beauty, man brands the body of Julia, leaving the letter X on it. The girl hardly survives the pain shock and loses consciousness. This is beneficial for the man, because he transfers Julia to the van without any resistance and puts him in handcuffs. Sitting behind the wheel, the man is about to transport the victim, when he suddenly hears that her mobile phone is ringing, accidentally falling out of her pocket. Having made an unexpected stop, the stranger severely punishes Julia for her bad behavior. A little later, she notices that there is another girl in the back of the van. Julia calls out to her, but soon realizes that the second beauty has fallen asleep forever. Sometime later, the criminal comes to the wasteland in order to get rid of the body of the previous victim, also branded, but with the letter W. After pulling out the body of the girl, the man prepares a pit for her, flooded with rainwater. He sincerely loves every victim, so he kisses the girl on the lips before getting rid of her. Meanwhile, Julia notices the key to the handcuffs, which the man, by an absurd accident, forgot nearby. Freed, she rebuffs the criminal and, taking a shovel with her, escapes. The man appreciated the opportunity to play with the victim and, taking the chain, goes after her. Julia runs across the field in an attempt to break away from her pursuer and finds an old abandoned house. Breaking the window, she tries to hide inside the house, but the criminal does not lag behind. As soon as he bursts inside, the girl hits him on the back with a shovel and tries to escape. Another attempt ends in failure, as almost all the doors are locked and she has nowhere to hide. Julia manages to close herself in one of the rooms, but there is no way out, and the criminal, having broken the door, will captivate the victim again. He hits her in the face and asks her to be more obedient, but the girl is not going to give up. The man does not know how to flirt and treat girls, so Julia does not want to listen to his crazy statements. At some point, the beauty jumps up from her seat and, hitting the criminal with her knee, jumps out the window. A man likes this game because he feels the excitement and desire to continue the pursuit. Having given the girl a head start in time, the criminal continues to pursue his victim like a cornered animal. Once on the shore of a small lake, Julia takes a boat and sails away as far as possible. Man continues the pursuit, but is in no hurry, realizing that she will not be able to escape from him. At some point, Julia realizes that the lake is not deep and jumps out of the boat in order to move faster through the water without leaving any traces. A stranger from a cafe finds a boat and realizes that he missed the victim. Trying to listen to what is happening around him, he takes off his headphones for a couple of moments, after which he continues to listen to his favorite music. Meanwhile, a girl wandering through swamps and forests sees a brick building on her way and hurries to it. A man sees her footprints in the mud and continues to pursue his victim, considering her easy prey. Julia goes up to the second floor and looks for something that will be useful for self-defense. After finding a can of gasoline and a couple of flares, she runs outside and sets fire to a pole. This not only attracts the attention of a man who methodically inspects every room, but should also be a signal to the locals. While the criminal continues to be surprised by the resourcefulness of the victim, Julia finds a spray can of paint and a small package. As soon as the man is in the same room, the girl beats him with a piece of metal pipe, after which she throws a bag over his head and puts the criminal to sleep. As soon as Julia pulls the criminal out into the street, a black car drives up to the abandoned building. Jessica, Julia's sister, found her and is ready to help load the man into the trunk. As it turned out, the sisters are not innocent sheep and stupid victims of a criminal, but real fighters who purposefully hunted down a man. Of course, Julia did not expect that the hunt would be so difficult, but still pleased with herself. Together, the sisters stuff the stranger from the cafe into the trunk and go home. Having dragged the criminal into the house, they do not miss the opportunity to kick him and hit him in the head with a tire iron as soon as he comes to his senses. A little later, the criminal comes to his senses and realizes that he is chained to the wall with his neck and is in the basement. The strangest thing is that creepy mannequins of a man and a woman are sitting next to him, evoking fear and horror. Realizing that it will not work to escape, the stranger accepts Julia's conditions and understands that now he will have to play by her rules. At the same time, Jessica helps her sister treat the wound in the form of a brand and reports that she has found another victim. Julia asks her younger sister not to be so cruel, because not every man who sends candid photos is a criminal who deserves punishment. Jessica is outraged that Julia does not allow to take the life of a criminal because she is grown up and must punish everyone who shares their vicious thoughts. The behavior of the girls is easily explained because the sisters grew up in the family of a very bad father who raises his hand not to his wife and daughters. He humiliated his mother and closed himself in the bedroom with Julia, who was trying in any way to protect her younger sister. Years have passed since then, but the older sister's attitude towards Jessica has not changed. The girl wants to prove her worth and that she is grown up, but Julia asks her not to rush. After that, the girl goes down to the basement and leaves the key to the collar for the criminal to escape. As soon as he does this and goes upstairs, Julia plunges a knife into the back of the victim and then attacks him with a hammer. The man fights back with difficulty and realizes that he enjoys playing cat and mouse. Going down after Julia into the basement, the criminal realizes that she is not acting alone, but with an accomplice. This even more excites the stranger from the cafe, looking forward to fun and hot threesome games. Julia continues to protect her sister and sprays the criminal in the eyes with a spray can, after which she runs upstairs to calm Jessica. Continuing to pursue the girls, the criminal pushes her younger sister away, and she falls down the stairs back into the basement. Julia hides in the kitchen and grabs the first thing that comes to hand. As soon as the man is in the room, she beats him with a frying pan and, making sure that her sister is alive, knocks out the criminal. A couple of minutes later, he wakes up in terrible pain as Julia pours strong alcohol on his wounds. The man is captivated and bound with barbed wire, so he cannot move and must obediently listen to the girls. As soon as Julia leaves, Jessica tries to seduce the criminal and reveals her hidden desires. The older sister forbids playing with the victim and asks to leave him alone. Jessica wants to finish off the criminal as soon as possible in order to go after the next man, but Julia does not want to rush as she is very tired and needs some sleep. Jessica wants to prove that she is already an adult and independent girl. Having picked up a beautiful image, the beauty visits a mechanic neighbor who is repairing a red Mustang and asks for help. She lies that her motorcycle has broken down and she needs strong male hands. She also invites Sam to play adult games and blindfolds a gullible neighbor. Soon she brings him to the house and fraudulently ties him up, putting him in front of the criminal. Hearing the voice of the second man, Sam is shocked because he was not ready for such games. He is surprised that he is not the only man in the house and is not ready for threesome games. The criminal reassures the mechanic because all the worst is ahead and now he should not scream or call for help. The knave Sam until the last thinks that it is about having love of the three of them and is waiting for role-playing games, but soon realizes how much he was mistaken in his assumptions. A little later, Julia wakes up and, going down to the kitchen, sees a new prisoner. She is unhappy with Jessica's behavior and asks her to stop. The younger sister wants to show that she does not need custody and asks to be given the opportunity to prove it. Julia offers to get rid of Sam with nails and a hammer. Jessica cannot make up her mind, and the criminal taunts her, drawing attention to himself. Injured, the girl plunges nails into the legs of the man from the cafe, and then finds a stun gun and tortures both captives, causing them pain and suffering. Julia is tired of all this and goes to the bathroom to freshen up a bit. Jessica breaks a bottle on the criminal's head, after which she goes to her bedroom. A little later, a stranger from the cave comes to his senses and realizes that he has wire cutters in his hands. Using the tool, he frees himself and removes Sam's bandage, so the mechanic can see the horror unfolding around him. Having treated the wounds, the criminal is preparing to continue the exciting game. First of all, he attacks Julia in the bathroom and tries to strangle the girl, but Jessica stops him. At some point, it seems to the sisters that the criminal has escaped, but he likes to catch up and will not leave the house under any circumstances. Jessica meets a criminal and lures him into her bedroom, hiding with scissors under the bed. Meanwhile, Julia finds a sledgehammer in the garage and frees Sam so he can escape. Protecting her younger sister, the girl enters into another fight with the criminal. During the fight, Julia and the man from the cafe exchange pleasantries and compliments. They do not know each other well, so they continue to get to know each other, talking about their preferences in music, cuisine, and cinema. A passionate meeting with self-mutilation and beatings is interrupted by the intervention of Jessica, who periodically helps her older sister. Turning out to be a strong enough and strong-willed girl, Julia defeats the criminal and drags him back into the house. Jessica hugs her sister, but immediately plunges the scissors into her. The man watches this with delight and admits that this is the best date he has ever been on. Jessica decided to get rid of her older sister once and for all, considering herself old enough. Following Julia, she finishes off the criminal. Later, Jessica, acting worse than any criminal, deals with the body of a man and burns down the house. Sometime later, the girl continues dating on the internet. Meeting with another man in a cafe, she introduces herself as Julia Lai and hints at closeness. As soon as the couple retires to the toilet, and the dark-skinned stranger indulges in gross pranks, Jessica takes his life. After a successful date, according to the girl, she leaves the cafe, turns on the music of the deceased criminal, and takes off into the distance on the mechanic's red Mustang.